This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
You know, some people say that Odoo business management software is like fertilizer, the way it promotes growth and all. But other people say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. And there's some people who would even say Odoo's individual software programs come together to build the perfect suite like building blocks. Well, Odoo is all of these things. Fertilizer, magic beanstalk, building blocks for business. So sign up now at odoo.com, ODOO.com.
Hold on to your butts.
Welcome back, 9 to noon, as we kick off the 10 a.m. hour. Might as well make it a Vikes Bites, presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. You can shop online. A box of meat will show up at your doorstep. And then, as well, Coburn's, Co-ops, Kowalski's, they're proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics. Gophers athletes, they're eating Thousand Hills beef. It's nutrient-dense, regenerative agriculture. You can find out all the scientific stuff, Matt and everybody in Clearwater, Minnesota. It's local, love them, Thousand Hills. We loved getting the chance to finally hear from Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah yesterday.
KwesiCuts.
KwesiCuts! Vikes Bites! Stop yelling, Nordo!
Kevin O'Connell is on the 9 to noon radio show Monday at 9:20.
Oh, that's sweet. So we'll get to hear from the head coach. How about Alec? I just love to... Well, it'd be great to hear from the head coach. You're going to hear from him at the owners' meetings on Monday, my friend. Right, so everyone will just will breathe. But yesterday we did get to hear from General Manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, and
I enjoyed the press conference.
Well, and that's what I was going to get to off the conversation we had during 9 to noon. It's like, how much of this presser is going to be dominated by the quarterback conversation?
Yeah.
We got that answer. It was more than I would have appreciated, Same. To be honest. It was like 40% of the presser, it felt like.
Yeah, it's more than I thought.
And so I do want to hit a couple of quick quotes on that before we get to the things that I was most interested in the conversation yesterday. But somebody asked him early and often, like, hey, J.J. McCarthy, so QB1, right?
When we pull the resources we did to draft J.J. and you go through that long process and all those things, I can't stand up here and say that's the outcome we want, and that's the outcome we're headed towards. At every checkpoint, whether it been the draft process or practice until the injury, or really the offseason now, he's met the bar. I mean, he's exceeded our expectations at every point, and so I don't have the ability to tell you what the future is, but I can tell you what I expect to be the outcome this offseason from the competition.
Yeah, so there was some buzz following the presser yesterday that Kwesi didn't rule it out. Kwesi didn't rule out the idea of Rodgers, which I have to be honest, I didn't read into it a ton yesterday. Mm-hmm. I'm going to play this quote here.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Can we go back 2 weeks ago, Vox in the Box, 9 to noon, when we started at the baseline and we just simply said, when it comes to ruling out Aaron Rodgers or anybody,
yeah,
if you believe this team is in need of a more veteran backup quarterback than Brett Rippon, well, then you have that. Okay? So if you believe the need is there, or the request, or the requirement, which would be too strong, if you believe the team covets something like that, which we do.
Yeah.
We do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got that. So Joe Flacco, Cooper Rush, Doug Williams, whomever. So you got that. Aaron Rodgers plays quarterback, right?
Yes.
So therefore, inherently, he's in the chat.
Yep.
He's in the It's never was a zero, as 9 to noon stated 2 weeks ago. They have a need. He plays the position. That's that.
And in that vein, he kind of said this, talking about Kevin O'Connell's relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and the fact you just got to talk to the guy.
Well, you're talking about a player that Kevin's known for a long time, and so when you have a relationship like that, I'm typically the type that's like, hey, whoever's got the best relationship, talk to him. And he's got a relationship with Aaron. They've had a lot of conversations. Obviously, he looped us in, and we kind of met and go from there. It's a unique thing to talk about a player of that caliber, and I'm always somebody who wants to learn and grow myself, and so just being involved in those dialogue was really special.
One of the most pertinent and forthright parts of the confab yesterday just took place. Because all right, so Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the general manager, we're not talking about somebody who spent 15 years as a regional scout.
Right.
We're not talking about somebody who is he eliminating the emotion, eliminating some of the intangibles from the analysis, I think is a starting point for those of his ilk. Okay? So what he said there, that was ears opening to me about it's fascinating to even talk about somebody like this.
Right.
Okay, but now that's fair. But that's starting the conversation with the science, starting the conversation with the science of all of it. Then you get to the next layer of the conversation, and it's the intangibles, the culture related bits, the NFLPA, we were first and we were second. How's that going to impact that? Because, we're awfully proud of that. All of that then will come in.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really interesting what he said. If there are those trying to pick around, trying to figure out, all right, well, when you have a building with 1,000 people in it, well, understandably, there are going to be some maybe of the decision-making variety who matter, who are going to be like, let's talk about this.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's what that was.
I agree.
And where it went from there is the Rolling Stones song, you can't always get what you want.
Well, and I think when we hear Kevin O'Connell talk, and we'll hear it on Monday, if you let him talk enough, eventually you kind of get at least probably 2/3 of the way to the real answer. You kind of get what you're wanting when Kevin O'Connell is speaking. You just got to figure out over the course of time and reps and rhythm and just hearing him through it, you kind of get to the right answer just by listening the more that he will delve into a topic. If we're going to spend time trying to dig into the minutia of what Kwesi is saying from time to time, and you're right, dead on, very forthright answer in that regard.
Yeah.
I think we're going to drive ourselves crazy. Kwesi is not going to ever rule anything out. I can't remember a time, and someone can tell me if I'm wrong, over the last 3 now into 4th season, where he stood in front of a microphone and said, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
That we're not going to do that. No, we have definitively made this choice as an organization. He has never said that. He wouldn't say we were out on Kirk Cousins right up until he was inking a deal with the Falcons. He wouldn't say we were out on Sam Darnold until he was inking a deal with the Seattle Seahawks. He will say the door or imply or infer or lead you down the road of the door's not closed on Aaron Rodgers.
And that's what I would do too. Well, if I was in his spot.
And so to that end, though, the idea of it might not be over. Like, just calm down.
But it might not.
It may not, but you're not getting, I don't think, a lot of clues and a lot of leads when he talks about those sorts of things. Uh-huh. He might be forthright about, as you're saying, his excitement to being in those meetings. And in some ways, he almost kind of sounded like a fan. He's like, hey, it's kind of cool. I like learning. Hey, it's Aaron.
Right.
Hey, it's Aaron. It's the MVP sitting across the table.
It's different.
But certainly, but I'm not getting a lead on that. I'm not getting a tell. And that's kind of, it was similar but different maybe with Spielman. It's not really that in Kwesi. Kwesi's not giving you a ton of cards to play with when he talks about some of this stuff.
Yes, sir.
So to run with it one way or the other in some respects outside of just here's what happened and here's pragmatically what that could mean, I think that's kind of the best you can do.
I agree.
When Kwesi's talking.
I agree.
So the quarterback dominated, in my opinion, too much of the presser. Eventually, I think this was Fitzbeat. He just came in, he's like, what up with the contract?
Kwesi, why hasn't your deal been done?
Man, it's funny. I don't think about that very much. I'll be honest. I'm wired. This is probably the busiest time of year for myself and my staff, and so I wake up every morning trying to make sure the Vikings get to the ultimate goal I want to get us to. So when I somebody will say it in passing, I'll make sure I call Jimmy and ask him how it's going and all that stuff. But just like what we say with player contracts, it's a process. These things take time. A contract is a chance for people to come together at a table and find solutions for the things that they want to solve for. for. So that's what we do. I trust people to do that for me. I promise you I don't wake up thinking about that for 1 second. I wake up thinking about how do we improve this team, how do we beat the other teams in our division, how do we get to the playoffs, and how do we go further. It's one of those things. We're all aligned the same way. Myself, the Wilfs, the Vikings, my family, everybody is aligned. Whereas if I go out and do my very best and focus all of my being towards that, everything's going to work out. That's how I believe my life, and that's how I'll continue to believe.
So there were a couple of
I believe him.
There were a couple of follow-ups associated with that, but in the end, his answers were very similar to what you just heard.
He ain't tripping.
That he's just working. I'm going to either get a contract or not get a contract.
Right.
One of the follow-ups even included kind of the idea like, hey, you're in the mix on big decisions here, like QBs and what this thing's going to look like. I'm going to play some audio about, what he was doing in terms of comp picks and some various things. That's future focused, right? Well, his future as of now is just 2025. But you're saying that you truly believe that. I mean, maybe he's not even obsessed with it. So in this regard, we'd be arguing semantics.
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean.
But you truly believe that it doesn't. It may matter a small fraction, but it doesn't dominate his life.
Yeah, I mean, just think about those listening, yourself or myself, whatever. If there's something heavy on your hearts, okay, say it's work related, how much do you permit it to eat you up? And do you wake up? Do you start thinking about it? Do you wake up in a bad mood? Do you walk into your covenant? You're in a bad mood. Do you leave it? You're in a bad mood. That's not Kwesi. Okay. So it would be foolish to say that somebody never thinks about it. I mean, it's the immediacy of their livelihood with two young kids, and somebody who enjoys what he does. I don't know the parameters that go into it. It's not, it just doesn't work the way a lot of people think it works, in that, well, you know what? If 3 of these 4 guys that we take in the draft do not play at least 14 games and 795 snaps, you're out. It's not like that. It's a totality thing. And the NFLPA, with the players, talking about the squad and the covenant, when that thing checks in 1 or 2, well, Kwesi has something to do with that too. So it's I'm not even going to say big draft for Kwesi. It's not that, because I liked how he put that, and he puts the team before himself. And I firmly believe that he's telling the truth from the Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah that I've gotten to know.
Bikes Bites. Thank you, Thousand Hills, for bringing us KwesiCuts.
It doesn't eat at him.
Here it is, Kwesi talking about comp picks, and again, kind of some future-focused decisions he's making.
I think in the way you were able to address both sides of the line of scrimmage, and then the forecast ahead looks pretty good for comp picks in 2026, even all the moves.
Yeah, again, it's setting out. That's really.
Yeah.
That's Craig Peters with Vikings.com.
Oh, it is.
Love the guy. Just fantastic guy. Really good at his job. That question popped in. So just envision 9 consecutive Rodgers-related questions. It was getting monotonous.
Right.
One person asked a question somebody asked 4 minutes ago, either trying to trap somebody or they didn't hear it the right way. And then Craig, unprompted, is kind of like, listen to how I changed the chat.
I think in the way you were able to address both sides of the line of scrimmage, and then the forecast ahead looks pretty good for comp picks in 2026, even all the moves.
Yeah, again, it's setting out. That's really the job of leadership at my level, Kevin's level, Rob Brzezinski's level, is to set a vision, and not just look at how we need to look as a team, but hey, what's coming in the future, and how do we marry those two things together? And I set a course for the plan for this offseason, and some people look at you like you're crazy, like you want to get better, but also, and that those two things don't always add up. And again, great credit to our staff, our personnel staff, who has all those options and has it ready. And then the conversations we have, well, hey guys, if we do this, it's really this plus this versus that, and those conversations have been great. Over these 3 years, we've become a pretty cool think tank, and that's how those decisions come.
So future focused, one Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, and I got a few more KwesiCuts for you during this Vikes Bites Thousand Hills session. And it was this Doogie asking about Plan A's, PA?
How many of your Plan A's were executed, even going back to Aaron Jones a few days before free agency officially?
Yeah, a lot of our Plan A's, but it's hard because it's almost like a play call. You have a package play. There's a play and an audible off of it. So
here we go.
If you don't get this thing, it's because you're really excited about these other 3 things you could get.
There we go.
If I take your question the way I think you're asking it, we were successful in doing a lot of our planning, but some of that was related to, hey, we have this audible that we like almost as much as Plan A.
Ooh.
So if you run after Milton Williams and you don't like where it's going, but you're cool getting Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave for less, the same, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what he means there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Jonathan Allen, probably a good example is $26 million a year for Milton Williams?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, New England's got a ton of cash to spend. They just spent more of it on Stephon. But
and I'm not saying they ran after Milton Williams. What I'm saying is that would be the parallel.
Well, yeah, and I think like last year, Christian Wilkins is that deal ballooned north of $100 million. Mm-hmm. Then you had to start to find other things. Now, in that case, you ended up with like a Jerry Tillery, and you're kind of stopgap into what you're doing now. But
that's what the assumption that they went after him last year, which they very well could have. And I don't even know if they went after Milton Williams. But the way Kwesi laid that thing out, and then what you do is you look at, okay, what positions did they fortify? And clearly there were 2 defensive tackles that were brought in. So the former Eagle, the Super Bowl winner, the rotation guy, Milton Williams, he goes to New England. So the parallel that I'm lining up here off what Kwesi said is, Doogie, it's the Lions. He's like, did you get all your A guys? All right. And he's like, well, it's like a play call. So we got an A play here, but if the defense takes it away, we happen to like B a lot. If you like Milton Williams a lot, cool. But for whatever the reason, you're not willing to get over that hurdle the Patriots got over. But we feel good about this next play with Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. So like with Christian Wilkins, I mean, it's where did he end up? The Raiders?
Raiders, yeah.
So it's like if anybody was going after him last year and they got beat, what 2 or 3 did they end up with that they were completely happy with?
Yeah, and I used Wilkins as an example, similar to Milton, similar position, but I just keep thinking the vibe is that as long as Kwesi's doing his thing, that I don't see us chasing that tail, the biggest money tail in free agency. Mm-hmm. And so when you mention this thing's going the wrong way, this isn't going in our favor, I'm just picturing that somebody's going out to get the possible biggest bag, that they are going to be the highest touted free agent or highest paid free agent.
Milton Williams was always going where the most money was. And it could be a 1-in-16 operation.
Yeah. And so when you if you're Kwesi, it's your job among those that you work with to know that. And so eventually it's like, we'd love to have him on this team, and Flores is in the room, and you're dream weaving with Milton Williams, and you make one call to the agent. It's like, if you aren't in this territory, if you aren't in this stratosphere, you're out.
Yeah, we're good.
Well, then now we check out of the run and we go play action to maybe Jonathan Allen.
Yes.
Which they were able to do quite seamlessly. KwesiCuts, speaking of a seamless move, how about Jordan Mason coming to the Minnesota Vikings?
What led you guys to Jordan Mason and the idea of pairing him with Aaron Jones?
Yeah, really excited. We got to see him play against us, obviously, and that kind of impressed us. And obviously, I've been in that building and know how they evaluate running backs, and then the tutelage he'll get with a guy like Bobby Turner, who's I think one of the best in the league, maybe one of the best the sport's ever seen at that position. And so those things kind of start ideating in your head, and then your scouts come and tell you, hey, he's an RFA or different things like that, and we talk through the dynamics of how that could work. And we're really excited about the tandem, the pairing, just the physical play style, really more of a 4-minute back. When he gets to the second level, he can do a lot of things with contact balance and different things like that. And Aaron's, actually for a smaller guy, runs pretty physical himself, really good in the passing game. So we just like the pairing. We want to be, like I said, we want to be able to win any game. And so if we got to run it 40 times, we want to run it 40 times with those 2 guys. And so we're just really excited about the pairing. And then, my experience with that front office, obviously, when it's time to make a transaction, we can be really transparent and honest with each other, and those deals happen that way.
That was a fantastic answer. Yeah. I mean, starting it with the transparency and the honesty of, I was with that team. I know how they evaluate running backs. Ooh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So like next week from the owners' meetings, Kevin O'Connell will join Monday. I believe team president, co-owner of the team, Mark Wilf, will join Tuesday. I'm hoping to have Kwesi on the radio show one of those 2 days because I have some questions that I was writing down during the press conference yesterday, and one of them involves just kind of what he just said there, and something I found to be really fascinating.
My final Kwesi cut for you involves older free agents. I'm sure fans were not daft to this. You're starting to see it's like, okay, Jonathan Allen, okay, he's at 30. Javon Hargrave, love him, but he's over 30. And Ryan Kelly, over 30. You were starting to see a little bit of a trend here. What's up with that, Kwesi?
How did you judge? There's several of these free agents were on the older side, 30, and had some injuries. And how did you guys go about that? Because I know typically you focused on the 26, second contract.
Yep.
So I'm just curious why the shift in approach.
It's obviously when you always prefer to have the longest runway, right? And so you always, when you're getting players, you don't just want them for what they are, what they could be. And so younger players typically, can be getting better, and you're buying them kind of at a place where they're arrow up still. With veterans, it can be a different situation where because of something, maybe an injury or an age, they're being discounted, and then they become valuable for that reason. So you're just really, it's always about a value creation type thing. Sometimes that comes from young, sometimes that comes from older. We do that, a lot of intense study. We've got a great football quantitative methods group with Chris French and Cole Bransford, and they do a great job really studying those things, studying, on average, when do certain things happen, when do they not, and obviously you don't live by those things religiously because not every person is the average person. What are their work habits? What is our building able to do? I think Tyler and his staff does an incredible job to get players to be healthier, better, more available than they've been at other stops. So a lot of that kind of goes into the calculus. We're always just trying to find value, and I think that can happen with younger players, but sometimes with older players. But it's also, to the previous question, it's planning for the future. It's, okay, well, if we do this move, we might need to do this move in a year or two. Can we set ourselves up to do that?
Damn, that's a lot. Can you repeat the part of the stuff where you just said all about the thing? The key there, and by the way, the Vikings have a quantitative methods department. Who knew? I mean, it's obviously under the analytics umbrella, but that's about as deep as I've heard Kwesi or anybody talk about the quantitative methods department. But he mentioned the name Tyler, and Tyler Williams runs the sports performance part of the equation. And they're with Tyler. He like under the radar was kind of a team MVP last year in the second half of the season because there are so many of these guys who aren't necessarily hurt like Cashman got hurt in that London game. Then he had to miss some time. Well, there's that, but it's patching these players together week by week to get them as close to 100% as you can, while practicing them so they know the plays and so they know what's coming. And Tyler is fantastic at his job. Won a Super Bowl with the Rams, and he like under the radar was kind of a team MVP last year, keeping all these things together. Which, as 9 to Noon shared when they were signing. Okay, Jonathan Allen missed this much. Javon Hargrave missed 12. Will Fries missed 13. Kelly, 3 different injuries. Eventually, it was a knee that cost him. Well, you really, really have to trust your trainer / sports department, sports performance team, and the totality of it to make moves like that. So when he says Tyler, that's the Tyler, and the guy's very good at what he does.
Do you think at the end of the season, Kwesi, like they're having exit meetings and stuff like that, and it's like, all right, first of all, terrific job. But if you thought 2024 was going to be tough, wait until you see what I got on tap for you this spring.
Yeah, you've done such a good job that we now are going to, since you're just very good at what you do, we'd like to give you this raise too. Well, now you're going to do it year-round.
Yeah, correct.
Because I'm going to show you a list of the free agents we want. They're all coming off season-ending injuries. Oh, goody.
Well, and he's got to be in all the contract negotiation meetings with these guys. So when Javon sits down, if there's like, all right, and it's going to be $100K per game healthy roster bonus, And Tyler's going to get 15% of that.
Yeah.
So are you cool with that, Tyler? I'd like 17, extra cold tub. We got a new cryo chamber coming in. I'd like 17%. And Javon's like, how about 16 and a half? Perfect deal. And they sign on the dotted line. But yes, training and keeping these guys on the field, it's an underrated aspect. We look at the injury reports, but there's a guy that makes that happen. It's Tyler.
Twins season opener today against them Redbirds. We fired up some talkbacks earlier involving where to watch the Twins and how and why. Your expectations for the season, what fires you up for Minnesota Twins baseball? Free iHeartRadio app. You get 30 seconds, and you get to be on the radio. So if you would like to leave some talkbacks on that subject or anything else, next segment we're going to play some back. Talkback time on a Talkback Thursday at FM 100.3 KFAN. With the Timberwolves, I wouldn't mind. I mean, it's not a preference, but like hand-picking situations is difficult. And what I'm getting at here is if the Wolves end up in the play-in, 7, 8, 9, 10, they say, I mean, even if they're in the 8, which means they would play at like the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, whoever's in the 7 spot.
Yeah, at the LA Clippers, it would be one of those two. Okay, that's not preferred. But I like the squad, and Steph has some pelvic terrorism, but he's still good. And if you lose that game, you still get another game.
Yeah.
But if you could offset now you need a couple things to happen here. You could offset the losses at Utah and suspended. Disease situation, they lost by like a point. The debacle that was Indiana at home, and the more of a debacle, the debacler, New Orleans at home. Well, really, the Indiana loss that could be argued that that's the worst of the season. But you got those three, which have some recency. You can offset those by winning that play-in bit, a road game. But we got to root for Denver to get the 2 seed. 7 goes 2. I don't care if we play in the Mile Get High City, Mozambique, or Manila. They ain't beating Finchie. So getting the 6 would be cool because then you would get Denver or Houston, one of those two, the 2 or the 3, whomever finishes third. But see, Houston is just proving a formidable foe right now.
Yeah.
And nobody's winning 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. They're like win, lose, win, win, lose. It's just a grinder in the West right now. Props to the LA Lakers, too, because they weren't playing well. And they caught a red-hot Indiana team last night. They were blowing out Indiana, and the Pacers came charging back at them. And then Luka floated one up in the key, missed it, and LeBron tapped it in for the win. So they got themselves an emotional W last night, and that's kind of what the Western Conference is like now. It has some topsy-turvy to it. But it's, yes, win your final 9 games. That'd be great. Can't lose to Phoenix tomorrow night. You never lose to Phoenix. Phoenix got killed last night. It's an inch from being a disinterested bunch. I mean, they've been lights out. They've had to go lights out to pass Dallas without Kyrie Irving and all the cats they've been missing. Anthony Davis just came back, so they're probably going to win some games. But from a hand-picking standpoint for the Hal is, okay, if we got to get the play in, we got to get the play in. All right, that's the deal. Would prefer to not face OKC in the first round, but if that's the deal, that's the deal. But if we're in the play-in and we can lock up that 7, because Golden State and the Clippers both can be beaten by this team anywhere, but those teams can also beat the Wolves anywhere. And you can end up with Denver in that first round, boy, that's going to answer a lot of questions with the way some things went this season. That would be super sweet.
Yeah, I'd prefer that game regardless to be at home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, And again, you laid it out. I mean, you can't pick ultimately this team. They're not going to win all 9 of their final games. So if you could handpick, I'm with you on the Nuggets in particular. Houston's still weird to me. I don't. It's they're super young, save for Van Vliet. But I mean, it's just the way they get production from so many different people.
Yeah,
it's really tricky for me to handicap them. I'd prefer getting Steph at Target Center over that wave that can take place at Oracle or whatever that arena's called now.
But you also get Jimmy. So you get Jimmy. You'd also get the Bulldog back in his spot. Didn't matter the other night, but now he didn't have Steph, but he went back to Miami. And he was Miami Heat immortality. Might have gone to the finals twice with the Heat. But he got booed every time he touched the ball. Jimmy doesn't care. But they got killed.
He actually likes that.
Yeah, it probably does in masochistic fashion. But they got killed. Now they had no Steph. So I can't even recall like the Wolves playing the Rockets. I mean, I know they played each other this year.
Rockets are good, man.
I don't remember anything that is descript or anything polarizing from any of those games this year.
To the Minnesota Twins, get a few talkbacks in here before we pause. Free iHeartRadio app. You just hit that microphone, give us up to your best 30 seconds.
Hey, Paul, this is Matt from Medina, Minnesota.
Hi, Paul.
I'm excited for the Twins season opener. I think that I'm more interested about is to see what the Twins do when it comes to their starters and staying healthy. And then I hope Pablo Lopez does well this year as well as Joe Ryan. Thoughts on that?
Okay.
Good having JoJo back. I like watching JoJo pitch. You got Chris Paddock, who's battled nothing but injuries since he's been here. He's in the mix. And
that's kind of the same for Joe, right? I mean, he has these sweet starts the last couple of years. He's been so good early on and then just kind of fades.
The centerpiece goes today. It's Pablo Lopez. He's developed into one of the better pitchers in the American League. But over the long haul of a Major League Baseball season, obviously avoiding injuries is key for almost everybody, but that gets to the sticking point, the stickler in the room with Major League Baseball is certain teams can lose certain players and never get them back, and they just go buy new ones.
Yeah,
and they just make super gargantuan moves. It was like that move the Dodgers made with the Tigers. Now the Tigers, they I forgot the pitcher's name. But he was like the best pitcher on their team, maybe one of two. And the Dodgers traded for him. It might be Flaherty. And he goes to L.A. All right, well, Detroit's going to fall off. No, Detroit didn't fall off. Detroit was still balling. But that's not always the case. But the ones with the deep pockets can identify perceived or legitimate L's. Look up and down their roster. It does not matter what anybody makes or what the term is. They'll just go get them. That's really, really difficult to get behind. Wolves and Rockets 2-2 this year.
This upcoming Twin season feels a lot like an office party. No one really wants to be there, but you feel obligated to go anyway because you work with these people. Sure, you might have a bite to eat, but you're going to be looking at the clock the whole time, just waiting for it to be over with so you can move on with your life.
My man. That was crafted. I mean, I don't necessarily feel that way, but that was crafted beautifully. Well done.
This is Tim from Merriam Park. Twins win 92, shock the world in the playoffs, World Series against the Cubs. Why not? It's our day to believe. Go Twins.
Amen. Hashtag Hope Radio, hashtag Faith Radio. Twins and Cubs would, in a same fishbowl, different rocks, but it would, in a roundabout way, be Vikings and Bills in the Super Bowl.
A little bit.
I mean, but the Twins have one World Series, so it's not really the same.
Well, and if it's like an office party, that would be the version where you found out the punch bowl was spiked and you ended up staying much later than you originally planned on.
Yeah, for sure.
So some people would be very much in favor of that.
Fellas, I am a lifelong Twins fan, and as good as this team is, I just can't get on board, only because of ownership. And it's just bugging me, and I don't know how to get over it. Talk me through it.
Wow.
That's been the most common thing, weeding through these talkbacks. Yeah. This is opening day. The Twins are favored to win the division.
Right.
Pablo's on the mound. It'll be cool to see Sonny Gray. Let's drop an L on Sonny.
Yeah.
And let's move forward with the 2025 season. 75% of the talkbacks have been, I hate the ownership group. I hate the TV situation. Baseball is completely slanted to the big markets like you were talking about. And then I got to find the Tims and Marion Parks once in a while that are like, Twins shock the world. It's been tough finding talkbacks this morning that inspire baseball fans.
I mean, the ownership, the transferring of the team wherever it's going to go from an ownership standpoint. Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, yes, it's boring to read about. But you know what? I mean, for me, and I'm not going to be like the reality is, or here's how everybody should think. For me, it bugs more up to opening day. Well, now it's opening day. So then it's like, now you got the players. Now you got to keep them healthy. Now you get to sweat games. You get to watch games. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The games and sweating the games with your favorite team. Well, then you get to the trade deadline and you're actually doing something with like a 75 win percentage and you want to go out and get a player or two to fortify it. And then it's like, and you're right back to it, getting bugged about the ownership thing, and then you play the rest of the season.
Just gotta, if you love the game, you gotta put the ownership conundrum, the quandary, the quagmire out of your mind.
Yeah, hate the situation, don't hate the game.
There you go. Another talk back.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, good morning.
It's hard to get excited about the Twins when the poll ads aren't even excited about the Twins. It'd just be nice to have some owners that would actually spend some money on a team.
Wow, this has become depressing.
Hold on, let me see. I got two more that I dialed up again. I just have the timestamps.
Hey, this is Wayne checking in from beautiful Northwest Iowa.
Okay, that's
home
positive.
Of the Gink. The Gink. The Gink is on fire. Can we just take a moment to appreciate that it's a national holiday? It's opening day. It's the only time as a Twins fan I can be optimistic for the future. At least until that first pitch.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? That's some optimism.
We're gonna win, Gink. We're gonna score. That's great, man. Go tear up the birds, and we'll see what Pablo Lopez can do today. And again, we believe a week from today, we will be on the field at Target Field for their home opener, and that'll be a Vox in the batter's box. Don't leave.
News to Nord is brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. And then live racing kicking off in May. You got Derby Day parties. You got expos. You got bits going on all year long. So just go to, well, first have some sips of chips and tip Derek Allen quite well, or whoever else is working. Win some money on the tables, play some 3-6, and then go to CanterburyPark.com to find out what other cool things are happening. We mentioned the baseball team, Minnesota Twins at the St. Louis Cardinals. It's opening day. That's going to be a 3:15 first pitch. It will be Pablo Lopez. It will be former Twins, Sonny Gray, going for the Cards. Twins are tepid favorites, -118. And good luck to the Minnesota Twins. Other than Royce Lewis, I think Brooks Lee, Brock Stewart, they do have some players that are starting the year on IL. But other than Royce Lewis with the hammy, I believe it is, they are largely healthy, expected to have one of the best bullpens in Major League Baseball. And you're going to get to see Matt Wallner taking hold of that right field spot. You're going to get to see healthy Correa, hoping it stays that way. Buxton's never felt better, apparently. So good luck to the Minnesota Twins today. Now, that starts at 3:15, which means it'll be in about the fourth inning at 6:30 p.m. when the Minnesota Wild host Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals. Now, PA, the Wild, we were kind of chronicling it yesterday. They're on the playoff grind right now. They kind of have to be, and Wild fans have to be Dallas Stars fans, which is weird to say, because Dallas is at Calgary, and Calgary's a non-playoff team that is bringing the heat right now. The Flames are. And so you need Dallas to beat Calgary to keep them back in the bellows of the beast, while the Wild need to figure out how to score goals again, beat Ovi and the Caps. Caps have been terrific. They lost the other night to in Winnipeg. It was 3-2. I think it was an OT game. But other than that, they're like 9-1 in their last 10. So Caps are hot. Ovechkin, 6 goals from beating Gretzky on the all-time list. Seems unlikely that he will accomplish that tonight. That would be one hell of a game from Mr. Ovi. But still, nearly 40 goals at his age. He's missed some time. Impressive season from the HOF Russian. But that's going to be at 6:30 p.m., and you're going to get to hear that right here on your home for Minnesota Wild hockey The Fan. Now, to college hoops.
Hold on.
Yes.
Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek skating today. So they're back in the mix from a skating standpoint. That's via Michael Russo's Twitter machine a few hours ago. Their return is not exactly imminent, like getting into games. Yeah. But there was some video with 2 game changers starting to get the conditioning going. Also, Marcus Foligno, who's missed 5, he's going to play tonight. So Foligno's back tonight. So they start to get some reinforcements back, and they're going to need them tonight against a team that has the most points of anybody in the NHL.
And podcastable with the free iHeartRadio app, your conversation with John Hines yesterday, head coach of the Wild, talking specifically about Foligno and the fact that he's a deterrent in some of the physical play on the ice, and he means a lot to what Hines and company want to do. So the ability to get him back in the lineup is a big one. Big night for college hoops fans as well. 4 games this evening, 4 tomorrow, as the Sweet 16 will dwindle down to the Elite 8 by the end of tomorrow night. But it's BYU, 4.5-point dogs with Alabama. And then you have Maryland, 6.5-point dogs against Florida. You have Arizona, nearly 10-point dogs to the Duke Blue Devils. Cooper Flagg, though. And then Calipari's team, 5.5-point dogs. The Arkansas Razorbacks facing Texas Tech. Fun first 4-game slate of the Sweet 16.
Yeah, the Sweet 16 is the bomb. Even for those, it's like, those who are not watching a lot of Major League Baseball during the year, then the playoffs roll around. That would be me. I mean, I don't watch as much baseball as I used to, but I like the playoffs. I like it a lot. I don't watch a lot of college football. Certain bowl games are the bomb. Same thing with college basketball. And these teams, man, these teams are just littered with some sneaky good players. You got Cooper Flagg, who's not sneaky good. Janai Broom, who the country knows about, but that's kind of what's refreshing. That becomes refreshing for me in this landscape of monotony, is uncovering something that is new and being like, wow, who knew? My man's really good. And just kind of watching how they stop it and the schematics and stuff like that. So these are just really, really good pairings today and tomorrow.
Do you think outside of the college basketball hardcores, like Duke Blue Devils, obsessed guy that texts the text line every day so that we don't forget about Cooper Flagg?
Yeah.
Do you think Janai Broom, on a team one of the best in the country, is he kind of understated? Like if you're a casual college hoops fan and you're trying to keep track, I don't know how much players jumping teams these days. We were talking with Parker. Yep. Caleb Love, one of the best Tar Heels for a stretch. Now he's in Arizona. Like you see that happening year to year.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it's tougher to grasp like who the big timers are that ultimately you'll be seeing lottery picks go in June?
Well, it's a good question. And it's, when you've watched college basketball in a roundabout way since, like, I'm going to go back to my days in Washington, D.C. when there were 4 channels. When they had the ACC game of the week, Sunday night at 7 o'clock, and it was North Carolina with Phil Ford and or Michael Jordan versus Duke with, say, Jim Spinarkle or Mike Jemensky. I mean, that was appointment viewing. Maryland had a good squad, too. Len Bias eventually would play on the team, but sadly died. Ralph Sampson played for Virginia. When they had the ACC game of the week, year after year before more channels started to pop, I mean, that was big. Okay, now that's then. So you can still fast forward 15, 20 years and like, okay, well, say Tim Duncan, Wake Forest, Chris Paul, Wake Forest. I really like watching Chris Paul. Say I'm a dad then. Or my son or daughter really likes watching Chris Paul for Wake Forest. Okay, well, you can watch him this year and the next year and the next year and maybe the next year for Wake Forest. So you'll have familiarity with players playing for those teams. And that establishes deep roots within fan bases.
Yeah.
Because you fall in love with players and subsequently the team.
You just had me, small aside, Randolph Childress and Tim Duncan for Wake Forest
Randolph
in the 90s.
Childress in the college game.
So good.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. Kenny Anderson, too, for like Georgia Tech. So I don't care if people think myself or Finchy are playing the old man card. It's fact. I mean, you got somebody, I don't even know who he plays for. He was in the Final Four with Florida Atlantic within the last 3 years. Now he's in the Sweet 16 for another team. And in between, he might have gone to Pasadena City College, El Camino College, Hennepin Technical College, and McNeese State. So it's just, yeah, I mean, hey, here's the deal. It's our choice to watch it and or follow it or to not do that. And I choose during the season not to. This time of the year, it's a different level. Yeah. I choose to follow it this time of the year.
Like Braden Smith, you hit Parker with the 1.8 million NIL. Mm-hmm. Like Braden Smith, wasn't that an O lineman for the Colts at one point?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Braden Smith.
Right.
What?
Right. I mean, I don't know, man. I probably can name 10 college basketball players in the country. I can name a lot of last names, but like putting their full name, like the point guard for Kentucky. All right, Forbes. That's his last name. All right, it's the Preacher's favorite team, so I watch their games. Okay, I know he was out a while, and I know they're down 2 other guys, and Forbes came back, and it's changing things.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Who's next?
I noticed you were quick on the Wildcat money line for tomorrow night. You're feeling it, right?
I'm being a Wildcat homer there. All right,
that's news to Nord.
Appreciate you. And let's call the box of all boxes ever to Vox. He has a new venture, and he's also Alan Roach. He's the box. So let's head out Colorado way and get the dulcet tones of Roachy Roachy when 9 to noon continues on KFAN.
You know, some people say that Odoo business management software is like fertilizer, the way it promotes growth and all. But other people say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. And there's some people who would even say Odoo's individual software programs come together to build the perfect suite like building blocks. Well, Odoo is all of these things. Fertilizer, magic beanstalk, building blocks for business. So sign up now at odoo.com, ODOO.com.